Hello and welcome back to the Summoner's Guide to Final Fantasy XIV. Our next and last 4-player dungeon in the entire Level 50 series is the Wanderer's Palace Hard Mode. We're returning to the lair of the Tonberries, and this time we're trying to rescue the Tonberries. As they're not as hostile now as they were the first time they came in, and so now we're just trying to see to it that these guys here don't enslave them. Alright. Oh, goodness. We've got 2 summoners and a scholar in this run. This'll be fun. All the dots. Alright. There are some definite strategies involved in some of the later trash pulls that we'll be getting into. But there will be, you will get to certain points where your progress will be locked by gates. So you're never going to get into a situation where you can make absolutely enormous pulls, but there are some places where the place where you decide to pull is as important as the size of the pull itself. In fact, a lot of places it's actually better to make a bigger pull than to leave the enemies where they are. But we'll get to that, especially when we're in the second area of the dungeon. And now we have 3 shadow flares up. This will be over quickly. And of course, everybody's been baned, so it's massive amounts of DPS going out on these guys. I remember one time, actually, I think it was even before Heavensward came out, we had a similar situation with Summoner 2 Scholars, and we were like literally making designs with our shadow flares. Mickey Mouse. We did a Mickey Mouse here at one point. Alright, boss number 1. Great name, by the way. Frumious Coheal Jaw. Or Ya, if he's German. I doubt he's German. Alright, every so often throughout this fight, he will summon a Sacred Sphere. The Sacred Spheres are going to be launching fire AoEs throughout the room, like that one. You don't want that to happen. So, when he summons a sphere, you destroy the sphere. Look at all the shadow flares. Alright, there's another sphere. Kill the spheres as they come. Keeping in mind that later on he'll summon more than one. But that's really all you need to worry about with this boss. Kill the spheres as they appear. Look at all the shadow flares dropping from our 3 Arcanist classes. But yeah, kill the spheres as they spawn, and really other than that, just whittle them down. Easy boss. The second and third bosses are a little more interesting. Alright, so for these pulls, you don't really worry at all about the sacred standards, other than the fact that you don't want your enemies to be in that field governed by the standards. So either pick them up and pull them back, or pull them forward into the next area. Of course, a lot of these areas are going to be locked by gates. So in this case, our tank picked up both groups of enemies and then pulled them back into this hallway so as to be out of the region protected by the standard. The standard is going to buff your enemies while they're standing in it, so don't have them be standing in it. Oh, that's a caster, and look at the buffs he's got, because he's in the region governed by the standard. He's doing more damage, and he's taking less damage. But since that's a caster, he's a lot harder to pull out. A lot of tanks will pull him all the way back here to the bottom of those stairs. Okay, we killed the enemies, so that gate's open. This is going to be another section where all the enemies start in regions governed by the standard. So the tank is going to pull them out of the region governed by the standard. Alright, looks like we're going to fight them where they are. Or no, we're not. Again, very often the tank will either pull the enemies into the next area or pull them back into the hallway. Looks like that's the way we're doing it. Okay. Again, just follow the tank's lead. Wherever the tank decides to drop everything, that's where you're gonna do it. But again, the hardest ones to deal with are the casters, specifically the Silver Scale Sophist. Alright, what's our tank gonna do? One popular thing that tanks like to do in here is pull pretty much that entire section into this corner. The hope being to get the Sophist there as well, but it doesn't look like that's happening. So I am actually going to switch my focus to the Sophist, let my dots do their thing. Get rid of the Sophist here. Okay, we should be almost at the second boss at this point. Yep, there he is. Okay, so here's the thing about this boss. He drops a bunch of totems on the floor that will have different effects. One of the effects is a damage up effect. These totems are color-coded, but they change every time you play this fight. So you don't know what the color of each totem is going to be until you try them out. So, here we go. There's a red totem over there. I'm going to see what the red totem does. Red totem is fire resistance down. Okay, don't want to do that. What about the green totem? No, he's wrong. Red totem is not damage enough. Green totem is heavy. Blue totem is damage up. There we go. Which means if I default the last totem, the purple totem, it will turn you into a frog. Or, if you are a frog, it will turn you away from a frog. Observe. So, yeah, that's the key to remember. It's different every time you fight. So that's really all you need to know. Test early in the fight, try to find what color is your damage boost, and also try to find what color is the toad, so that you can reverse the toad effect when he casts it. And I just informed the rest of the party of that fact. Alright, so this third section here, we need to kill the enemies that we're going to be encountering here in order to free the Tonberries from their jail cells. Tonberries will then show us the way into the last section of the dungeon. Alright, so when we kill the wardens, we'll get asylum keys. Which will open the asylum cell. When both cells are opened, the imprisoned Tonberries will come into this room here. And we'll open a hidden passage into the next section of the dungeon. In this section, you're going to take damage on this floor, but you need to take care of the Purulent Abscess. Now there's a fun-sounding name. And the Purulent Pustules are even better. So these guys are 9 kinds of fun. But, of course, you'll want to bane everything. Pustules will, of course, keep regenerating as long as the abscess is up, but they're easy to kill. It's a mechanic you've seen in plenty of dungeons before. Now, once all of the abscess and all the pustules are gone, there will be a... we already took care of it. There's going to be a pump you can activate to reveal this passage here. I think we have, like, maybe one pull after this one. Of course, the Nimian devices, just like in normal mode. the long hall. And I believe this is also the last hall that you have to worry about here in Wanderer's Palace. This is the last group here. Alright, and that opens the final room, which is just like, it's actually the same final room as you fought Tonberry King in, or at least it looks very similar. So now you fight this big old two-headed Mobile Jaw, I think that's what they're called. You don't really encounter these guys very often. About the only place you ever see them is in Upper Lanasia, conveniently right outside of... Oh, get out of there! So, yeah. One important thing that I completely forgot about this fight, you need to stay close to the boss, because that is very hard to dodge. Alright, now the tank is, or at least should be, pulling the enemy out of the Sacred Standard area. Get out of Tyrannic Glare whenever you can, and stay close so that you don't have to go nearly as far, because it's a huge cone. Now, this boss is, in fact, going to cast all sorts of nasty status effects on you, and this is mainly going to be the healer who's going to have to deal with it, either by cleansing the effects off of you, or in some cases they can only be cleansed by raising you to full HP, like that Doom effect that I currently have. If the healer heals you to maximum HP, you drop that Doom effect. Tyrannic Glare, get out of that. So yeah, when the boss drops a Sacred Standard, the tank will pull the enemy out. When the boss drops a Sacred Idol, you need to kill it. Because the idol will actually tether to the boss. And it doesn't really matter if he's standing in the boss's, or if the boss is standing in the idol's area, it's still going to buff him. So you need to kill the idols, but ignore the standards. The tank can pull him out of the standards. And of course, any other ads that show up should probably be killed as well. And so you just kind of repeat this little dance and do as I say, not as I do. Don't get too far away from the boss. Alright, we should be done before long. Alright, this is gonna be it. I don't even have to worry about that Doom effect. So there you have it. We are now clear with all of the level 54 player dungeons. Now we just have 3 trials to go. Uh-oh! Oh, the Tonberries have something to say about this guy. So that was fun. Oh, I didn't roll on those before everybody else left, so I got them by default. Alright, so next, I'm going to work on unlocking the next couple of trials. There's one last trial in the Hildebrand quest line that I'm about to unlock, and another trial, it's 2 more trials for the story, one in 2.5 and one in 2.55. And then, at long last, we will have cleared all of the standard level 50 content. Again, excluding the what is considered high-level raid content, which would be the extreme mode primals, Odin, or the Odin primal fight, the ultimate weapon hard mode fight, and the Binding Coil of Bahamut. Which again, I may end up playing all of those, but those will all be played unsynced. And I may do a separate video series on doing that high-level content unsynced, because that's pretty much how almost everybody runs that content anymore. So it's nearly impossible to get into a normal Duty Finder queue for that content. So, until then, have a wonderful day.